What's up and welcome in to the Funshop podcast with Greg and Ronnie. We're streaming to you live from Los Angeles, California. What's up, Greg? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, man.
Feeling good? Feeling all right?
It rained last night, so it's all green out.
Washed all the tears away?
Washed them all away, man. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Today's Wednesday, as usual, February 11th. Show number 32.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do we get for that?
I don't know. Big kiss. You get a
Big kiss.
Yeah, big kiss from me to you. Yeah, for 32. 32, Magic Johnson. Yeah, 32, number 32.
Yeah. Also Shaq, right?
Oh, yeah?
I mean, when he played for the Magic,
you're right.
I don't know much about sports, but I do know that.
All right. Today's Magic number 32. Then.
Magic number 32.
Magic Johnson and for the.
And speaking of Magic, we have a pretty magical guest today.
Oh, yeah? What's so magical about our guest?
He's a wizard.
Gandalf? No, who's the guy from Hogwarts? Dumbledore. Dumbledore, the greatest wizard of all time.
You know, I will say, never mind. No, I will say as much as people are going to hate this, talking about AI, there was, okay. I am glad that we're living in the moment though, where it's sort of just the beginnings, right? Like the machines haven't taken over yet. They're not controlling everything, they're not shutting off cars mid driving because you tweeted the wrong thing, right?
Uh-huh.
But what we are seeing is amazing videos. So the other day I saw an AI video of Dumbledore versus Gandalf, a MMA fight.
Oh, okay.
And they were coming in, and it was pretty good.
No magic.
No, just straight up bare knuckle wizard style.
Do you remember who won?
I think Gandalf did.
If it was Gandalf the White, I would give him the edge. But if it was the gray one, then I would give Dumbledore the edge.
Do you want to talk? Well, we can talk about the weekend real quick. I mean,
weekend wasn't much just because it was Saturday. And I don't remember what I did. I think I just hung out at Toy Depot. And then Sunday, you were selling, and I went to Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Before Super Bowl. Super Bowl was the big thing this weekend.
A lot of bowls.
There's always a lot of bowls, but yeah, a lot of bowls to be had. I mean, did you do anything? Should we do show and tell real quick or skip that, or what do you think?
We can do a quick show and tell. I don't have too much to show.
Yeah, me neither.
I could show this. My buddy, he's like, let me get your address. My buddy, Paul Kaiju, shout out to Paul. He said, hey, I found these and I thought you would love them. And so they're bubblegum cigars, which, you don't see anymore because nobody knows how to have fun anymore. So.
I do. I know how to have fun.
And these are cool because it has Dick. Win with Dick.
Win with Dick. Good
bubblegum.
Old Richard Milhouse.
Yeah. I would not, someone's like, oh, I dare you to chew one. No, but it's a full box. And so that was fun. The one other thing, just because I like things that are just stupid, I still buy matchbooks.
Would you get a mirror?
Yeah. So I got this matchbook. The cool thing about it is I got it because my buddy was like, oh, it's the Playboy Club. But it's actually, so it was actually made for I don't know if it's pronounced Bucko or Bucco. I think it's Bucco, the helmets.
Okay.
So Bucco or Bucco to Bucco.
B-U-C-O?
It's B-U-C-O. And
Bucco.
They did a motorcycle helmet company. And so they did an announcement, like an announcement dinner, with a bunch of Playboy Playmates back in 66.
Hey, all right.
And this is a commemorative matchbook for the event. So,
all right, cool.
The odds that somebody kept this are probably pretty low. And, you could only get it at that event.
Is there there's a Femlin on the other side? Is that
I'm just covering the price I paid.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there's what do they call it?
Femlin? Is it the one on the other side of the party jokes with the party jokes? How there's the little
she's holding the key.
The little Leroy Neiman.
Well, no, she's holding the key, so it's the logo for the club because I think you had to have a special key to get in or something. Than some of them, or they had these novelty keys.
Yeah, that's a Femlin.
Yeah,
it's just hard to tell with the black and the gold.
But that's
very
it.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of time. I mean, there wasn't a lot to buy this week at Rose Bowl, and I was just doing it by myself, so I didn't do a lot of shopping.
Let me show my
show your one thing.
My machete real quick. It wasn't one thing. I got
a few things,
but I got this OJ machete, which is really cool. OJ Simpson special edition.
I like how you're saying machete. Was that because from the halftime?
I feel like we're living in Los Angeles, and I feel like I'm always being judged. So it's I don't want to sound like a white guy like machete. It's a machete. It's a machete.
There you go.
We're in Los Angeles.
No, you're right. It's exactly how you pronounce it.
Yeah. I don't want to describe the other side, it's because it's kind of, it's kind of graphic, but that was the
I mean, you could describe it. It's some not,
it's a guy chasing another person.
Well, like, you don't, I mean, when that trial was on, there was so much stuff made.
There was.
Because that was like the only thing going on.
Yes.
You kind of can't really do that too much anymore.
You can, but maybe, you'll find it in really weird, like little novelty stores or like Las Vegas. You'll find some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I said magic.
Magic.
We have our guest, Gabe.
Magic. Gabe.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Fajuri.
Fajuri.
Gabe Fajuri from Potter & Potter Auctions.
Potter & Potter, yeah. So we've talked. I know we've talked about Potter & Potter before. When that one episode when I was like screaming, I was like all mad. No, I'm just kidding. We were saying how much we love you guys and different auctions and stuff that you had going on.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gabe, I guess for our audience, if you want to just like introduce yourself and tell us like a little bit about what you do and maybe a little bit about Potter & Potter and how you started it. And
I'm the best dressed auctioneer in America today, and I own and operate Potter & Potter Auctions in Chicago. We were founded in 2007, and we started out primarily selling magic-related material, so Houdini autographs and handcuffs and posters for famous magicians from 150 years ago, and much more recent posters as well. And in the last, I guess that would be 18 or 19 years, we've branched out into an auction house that sells fine art, that sells slot machines, comic books, toys, autographs, vintage posters, books and manuscripts, all different categories, primarily collectibles and art.
now, before you did the auction, would you consider yourself a dealer then?
A little bit. So I started collecting magic-related things when I was about 13. And then when I was in college, when eBay was just, getting off the blocks, I started selling things on consignment for other people to the point where every Wednesday went to the credit union, deposited the checks. Then I went to the post office. I shipped the orders, and then wash, rinse, repeat. And I was doing that over and over again to help pay for my tuition and beer money and, that kind of thing. And then buying and selling a little bit, but not in any sort of professional way.
So eBay kind of introduced you to being essentially kind of like being an auctioneer in a sense.
Plus my father had a side business, like a hobby business, running a stamp auction.
Oh, okay.
Growing up, and once a month, that kind of thing, and just sold postage stamps and
postal covers,
philatelic
and things,
stuff,
yeah.
and just imagine this, just to dealers. So it was like, a bunch of guys sitting in a Holiday Inn smoking and, giving each other shit and, and buying from each other so they could take it to their stamp shop, something that doesn't exist anymore. And, and going to antique shows and, bookshops and all that growing up.
Sure. So then you started it with your dad then?
Correct.
And tell me, where does the name come from?
Translation of our last name. So a little easier to pronounce. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I thought we were going to get another Dumbledore reference. Say, Harry and Hermione. And...
No, I guess that was kind of like a unexpected accident that Harry Potter got all like.
Yeah, it was just my sister going, well, there's two of you and it's easier to, and also, yes, I guess there's the Harry Potter reference, but we never, it doesn't sound too magic, really,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was saying. It was almost kind of like an accident that sort of probably helped more than it hurt.
Absolutely. I've 5 years in, I remember I went to this guy's house and he's like, so how long have you been with Potter & Potter? And, that austere, steeped in history, company. I'm like, we started it in and I'm the owner. And, it has that kind of.
Yeah, no, like, look, I'm not, you were probably one of the first auction houses I bought from. I mean, I did buy a little bit, but I've always mostly collected just from, antique, like in person, like
Sure.
like flea markets, yard sales, antique shows, fairs. Obviously I was on, I've been on eBay since '98. I was
too.
so that obviously like increased things, but yeah, it's I lost my train of thought.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, you were buying.
started-
You were probably bidding online.
Oh yeah. So then I guess probably as I just became, I guess would you say like more advanced of a collector, or like trying, or I guess realizing that there are these.
Evolved.
Yeah, I guess because I guess the biggest thing for me, and probably for you, probably for most guys our age, like the idea of an auction for me was like, yeah, you go to a room. And you sit there, and the guy's yelling and stuff, and I just remember because it was like I remember I only went to like I went to an auction like in Florida, like in Central Florida, and like the only thing I can remember was like this they had this Meissen collection, that type of pottery.
Yeah, sure.
And he's like, Meissen, it's the cross sword. Like he was like very, he just kept saying that like it was like the best thing that you could ever see. He's like, you don't understand, it's cross sword. It's like,
the
okay.
OG hype man.
OG hype man.
Yeah, right. And with that and 275, you can get a ride on the CTA. It's like, okay.
But yeah, so I think like it probably was the fact that because I think I originally found you guys through either Invaluable or Live Auctioneers.
Sadly, Live Auctioneers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so why'd you say sadly? Just because anybody can go on that, or?
How many other episodes do we have to talk about the? Yeah. I mean, I don't want,
Not trying to talk crap.
If you don't have anything nice to say,
Well, I will say though, I mean, look, it was it was good for the fact that someone like me found you.
That is its best and highest use. Unfortunately, they've leveraged that into many other things that are not.
But then I also appreciate, and I guess that because if people don't know, what probably the most way that auctions make their money, and I could be wrong, but it's through like a buyer's premium, or that's one of the ways.
I mean, usually that's half the equation,
right?
Yeah.
So a buyer's fee is on top of whatever it sells for. So generally, it's the terminology at least that I use is I'll say the hammer price, which is like when they hit the hammer. If it ends at $2,000, and then let's say there's a 20% buyer's premium, that means the person is actually buying it for $2,400.
Correct.
But then also the final price in, let's say, the catalog would be $2,400. So the buyer's premium is taken into account when the item is sold.
Correct.
So that's also, that for me, I didn't realize that when I first started. So even when, I guess just for like word of the wise, like if you go to like a Potter and Potter or another auction house, that you have to remember that the number you see includes a buyer's premium. So, technically, yeah, that's what it's worth, quote unquote. But you also have to think about the process of, consigning the item and, how that works. And,
I think there's a perception that, they sold all these, and they made this buyer's premium and they did this and it's like, sure, that's true. Me and all of the other people in the building that get a salary, that get paid, that had to take the photos and write the descriptions and pack the orders and move the merchandise around the warehouse and drive around the country and pick it up. And, it's like we're getting paid for the service that we provide the same way that anybody else is. What's my job? To find a willing buyer and a willing seller and put them together. That's my job.
Right.
I'm in a service business. I'm not buying, for the most part, I'm not buying the inventory. I'm taking the stuff on consignment from somebody who wants to sell it. I'm finding the people who want to buy it, and hopefully many of them, so they bid competitively and get the best price.
And then also, I guess, an advantage to going to an auction house would also be that, obviously, after tens, then hundreds, and maybe even thousands of auctions, you create like a client database.
Of course.
And then
of course,
you have people that
course.
you can direct and say, hey, I know you bought this last time. I mean, I know I even get the emails say, hey, we've put together these
lists of items that might be of interest to you.
Yeah.
And, this machete is, got a picture of Kobe Bryant on it. And we know you have a specific interest in Los Angeles themed, cutlery, and so therefore you should bid on this Kobe machete.
And it's, I mean, we were talking earlier about how, obviously we're not going to get into the boring part, but the fact that you guys have like a new website and back end trying to make it user friendly. So I guess my point is that it's pretty easy at this point to bid on something in your auction.
You don't have to go and listen to the guy yell. You can just sit at home and listen to him yell on the video stream.
Yeah.
And usually that person is me. But yeah, listen, we've got a big auction hall, showcases and track lights and, gallery hanging systems. And, we've done plenty of auctions with
if
two people in the audience.
I was about to ask the audience, if we go to Chicago, if we're in Chicago, can we go see auctions live?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's what that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Occasionally you do draw a crowd if it's got a lot of local interest or frequently people who buy slot machines or big mechanical things, they want to test them out or they want, drive away with them. That kind of thing can draw in an audience.
I guess I'm asking these questions mostly just in case somebody's listening that maybe hasn't bought or feels intimidated from buying from an auction house. Because I think like at first when you're thinking about it, it seems like it could be intimidating.
Well, and to a certain degree, I think that's a big failing of the industry.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm baffled by, have we sold things for $250,000 for an item or more? Of course. Have we sold things for $60? Yes. Or, a lot of people will spend more money going out, for dinner.
Right.
For two people than some cool thing you cannot buy anywhere else. And yet, I don't know. Enter in your info, click the button. And if you didn't buy it, it wasn't meant to be. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that I'll say that might not be something that you would use to promote, but it's something that's real too. Is that a lot of dealers do buy from auctions and get deals.
A lot of dealers buy things from auctions at what you might think is a crazy price, and then mark it up 10x,
right,
and sell it.
Yeah.
Again, and I'm not here to cajole anybody into bidding, and
No, I'm just.
But yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You mean I could buy that movie poster for, $96? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you could. There's bargains in every auction.
Yeah. And so I'll also say that too, I think a lot of times people also have to realize, and you have to also obviously you want to sell less $60 items and more $600 items. So
or 6,000.
6,000, right? Course, so you have to kind of, that was one thing that I learned the hard way was I just assumed, okay, there's eBay and then there's these other big auction houses. And I just assumed kind of, I guess naively that, if it's in a big auction advertised, you're going to get the most money, but that's not always the case. We're
certainly trying to do that. And,
no, of course.
But, that's not, listen, we've had $1 million auctions and, oh my God, but there are still things in those auctions where we sold 100% of the items and we beat our estimates by a mile. And there's still 3 or 4 bargains in one of them. Now, maybe that bargain is something sold for $4,000 that should sell for $6,000.
Right.
But, sometimes the fog of war or whatever you want to call it, and you get wrapped up in, oh my God, this, and then.
Well, that's the one thing I will say that's dangerous about a live auction is I know at least for me, I've, let's say I'm watching something and, it goes in order from, lot 1 to let's say 300. And you really don't know how, you can guesstimate, but you really don't know how long it's going to take you to get from number 1 to let's say number 121.
Yeah, no, you have a pretty good idea.
Well, me, I don't.
Oh, for us, it's, roughly 80 lots an hour.
80 lots an hour.
And,
okay.
Sometimes a little faster, sometimes
if
there's a lot of bidding. If it's a real good day and it's real competitive, it's like 50, 60 lots an hour.
And I will say, this is good for Gabe, not so good for me, but I know there were times when, I'm on the auction, I'm waiting and something would pop up and then no one's bidding, so I'm like, let me throw in a bid, and then of course, then all of a sudden someone bids against me, and then all of a sudden I'm buying something that I don't need for way more than
bidding it up, and I couldn't do it without you.
That's true too. Yeah. I mean, that's sometimes how I mean, that's how I think too. I'm like, look, if I can't buy this, I'm not going to let this guy get this thing for cheap because it should be worth a lot more. And that's regardless of knowing you, it's just something in my head where I'm just like, no, I don't want this to go for that cheap. And but I also have to be conscious that I'm like, okay, like, if the guy bid 1,900 and I bid 2,000 and he doesn't bid 2,100, then I'm stuck. Yeah. And I'm like, now I'm like, it's not 2,000, it's 2,400. So you have to be careful. But look, it's fun. And you guys always, package everything really well. And it's always like, I mean, look, but my point being is I've bought some pretty big, fragile items from you guys, and they've all come in one piece and they're double boxed.
Shout out to the people who work in shipping. I mean, they,
but that's also one thing that separates, I think, a good auction house from, or even a good like eBay seller is someone who knows how to pack items. I mean, that's a huge part, in my opinion, of having any type of,
for sure,
auction or collectible business.
Absolutely.
Because,
I think sometimes we go even a little too far. People are like, I needed a can opener and a blowtorch and to get this package open, but we'd rather have it get there in one piece.
Yeah, I think so.
You don't want those magic items disappearing.
That's
how long have you been sitting on that one?
I know. I think it's a good one.
That was like,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that was
very original. I would say very original material.
So, all right. Let's say just for fun. So, like, what's the most expensive item that's been sold through Potter over the years?
We sold a blooming rosebush trick used by Houdini for $324,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who's paying that much money for something? I mean, you have to say who it is.
A collector.
A
collector. Yeah.
But so
in the U.S., you think?
In the U.S.
How much? This is an interesting question. How many like institutional buyers do you have compared to, or is it mostly just collectors?
I mean,
or you don't know.
I'd have to look at the database.
Institutional, like for a museum, or
like
something.
A museum, or
insane asylum. Or,
Greg's Funshop.
Greg's Funshop. Okay. And then, what
museums, libraries, archives?
They do,
of course.
Yeah,
of course.
I guess, what's your favorite thing that you've ever auctioned?
Oh,
do you know?
I mean, the magic stuff. Okay, fine. I mean, we've sold so many bizarre things. I don't have a good answer to your. We've sold shrunken heads, and we've sold all kinds of crazy things. I just think that the thing that I like about what we do, rather than giving you a straight answer to that question,
that's fine,
is that there are so many conversations we have at work, and where even the people who are there on a daily basis say, this conversation has never been had by another human being on planet Earth. And, did you get that customer his shrunken head in time?
Yeah.
So the thing I like about my job the most, rather than picking a best item, is something's always new.
Yeah.
Every day.
Well, I think also too, the thing that
thrill of discovery.
Yeah. Well, that's what always, I think, interested me in your auctions and catalogs too, was, not to say, nobody knows everything about everything, but when you've been doing this a long time and you see a lot of stuff, I remember, opening your catalogs and being like, I've never ever seen any of this stuff in my life. And that was always like the fun part to me about a Potter and Potter auction, is that you guys are like really, finding and curating objects that are just, generally like unattainable, or it's just stuff that you really haven't seen.
And I think the thing that maybe got us whatever level of success we have is taking that kind of material seriously.
Sure.
So we've sold, ceramics by Picasso, and, Ernest Hemingway books inscribed and signed, and, a lot of things that are a little more mainstream, but we've treated unusual items. We've treated strange items. We've treated some of this sort of material on the margins with the same level of respect that some of these other more mainstream pieces of art or whatever, or design, or something by Charles and Ray Eames would get.
Right.
Right. And we present it in the same manner with a very attractive auction catalog. Which is not to say we don't joke around on auction day.
Yeah.
I mean, we're happy to, on a live stream, crack a few jokes and try to keep it entertaining and keep things moving along. And
that's kind of one of my favorite parts. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Ronnie, but I mean, Gabe he's pretty funny. Okay. Pretty funny guy.
Okay. I will be going to Ronnie for material.
Oh man!
For the next auction,
I want those ghostwriting credits.
No. I'll put a little bobblehead right on the podium, and
we definitely need a Ronnie bobblehead.
Oh yeah!
Every time we get a laugh, I'll just pat the head of the bobblehead.
Right. And then I guess what's I guess two questions. Well, I mean, you happen to be in town because I've put a bunch of stuff in a photography auction that we have coming up in March.
Yeah. And we did a punk sale last year. We've got another similar sale, punk and counterculture material, coming up in the summer. I'm on some, appointments yesterday, appointments today, drive up the, one to the next, to the next, to the next. That's the best part of my job.
Yeah.
When it's not laborious is what's in the next garage, what's in the next collection, what's in the next museum, we have 30 sales scheduled for this year, and I can't wait to find the next thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You have any good, we talked about some, but I'm just thinking now, is there any good recent, picking stories or a call that you got that you could talk about that was made you excited or was like an interesting find that you can discuss?
Last week, because I brought up Hemingway last week, the Chad at the office was cataloging things for a forthcoming book auction. He had the earliest known piece of writing by Hemingway. It was a postcard he wrote to his mother when he was 6 years old.
Wow.
And I mean, that was one where we walked around the office and we're like, have you seen, this is unbelievable.
That's cool.
Unbelievable. Dear Mom. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible.
And signed Ernest Hemingway.
I don't know.
Ernie.
No. Written from Greg's Funshop, however. So things like that, like piece of world history, American history, literature, so that's amazing. We had one of those great moments going into an apartment a couple weeks ago. One thing leads to another, and you don't know what you're going to find, and the person has passed away, and King Tut's tomb, and it's full of like silver made by Tiffany and art. It just and then in the same building, the same collector has a whole other apartment that nobody's been in like 4 years.
Wow.
Collected books, collected art, collected, ephemera, collected. I mean, so coming soon to an auction near you as soon as we can get a locksmith to change the lock and we can get inside the apartment.
But let me ask you this. I just thought of this now. What do you think? Because we were talking about this earlier, and it seems like a lot of times these like incredible finds and auctions happen when somebody passes away.
They say there's 3 Ds in the auction business. Why do people auction things off? Death. My brother died, sister died, husband died, so on and so forth. We need to sell their things. Downsizing. We're moving to a smaller place. Divorce. Easier to split up money than it is to split up things. And then, of course, I've added to that, because that's not original with me, there's drugs, despair, despondency, disagreement.
What's despondency?
You get real sad.
Oh.
Yeah.
You could just change that to depression. It'd probably be easier to understand.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit easier.
So, what motivates people to do these things? In that case, somebody passed away, and the executor of the estate called us and said, we'd like you to handle the collectibles that are there in this couple of apartments.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think a lot of times people don't necessarily know like how this amazing stuff comes, and a lot of times it's just you have somebody who's collected their whole life, they've never sold anything, they never planned on it, and then they didn't really have a plan when they pass. They're just like, all right, I guess who's ever left's going to deal with it or sell it, and
which to me, and I don't hear myself on the
something's up with his mic.
Yeah,
do you want to? What do you think? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, maybe it's out of batteries. I don't know, but just keep going, and we'll get him another one.
Okay. Here, let me. Why don't you hand me the mic, Gabe, and I'll get that going. Here you go, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep the air going for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think as I've gotten older and started thinking about, dealing with more archives and collections, I think that one of the things that people that collect for a long time, I think a lot of the collecting is, I don't know whatever kind of like rush you get from, picking or digging. But one thing that I've realized, and I've never been a person that's been motivated by money, right?
Okay, fair enough.
But I've learned over the years that I do get the same rush for selling something for like a good profit or good money that I do from finding it.
Interesting.
And so I think that's, one of those balances that helped me not just, hoard everything, partly also too that
gotta live too.
Gotta live. Yeah.
My comment, which is not quite on that track, it was going to be more about the death and divorce and all that kind of stuff. What I find to be really irresponsible is something related to your comment, which is if you don't have a plan, I find that to be not only irresponsible, but like, I think it's awfully rude to the people who are following you and have to clean up your mess.
Right.
And what I always tell people is you don't have to do anything. You don't have to sell the stuff. You don't have to give it, but you got to have a plan.
Right.
And you've got to make sure that whoever is going to be in charge knows what that plan is, that there's no equivocation, there's no question, because I've seen far too many times brothers and sisters fighting each other. It's, families and, he promised me that, litigation and, especially if there's real value there. And then in some ways, I guess even worse if there's not a lot of value there.
Right. Makes it worse.
So write it down, and it doesn't even have to be a trust or a will. I mean, yes, ideally, if you have something of value, not that I wanted to have a podcast about estate planning today, but like,
no, this is,
it's like really important.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Somebody walks in here that doesn't know what you have.
Right.
That's when people get taken advantage of. That's when things can really go wrong.
Well, no, and that's, me personally, and I, I can't say that I've followed all my suggestions, but I've thought about that. It's like, if God forbid I walk out of the street, get hit by a car, like the reality is my wife, Ronnie, other people, they wouldn't even know, like they might not know what piece of paper in my drawer is worth $1 and what's worth $1,000 because there are that level of things. So
right. And so it's your responsibility to, at the very least, write it down.
Right. Yeah.
Write it down, make it clear. And it could be, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, we know Gabe now, so we'll figure it out.
yeah. If I drop dead tomorrow, just have him come here.
We'll just go to Gabe.
Yeah, he'll just pack it off and put it in his sale.
Right, one lot. Yeah,
one lot.
Yeah. No, anyway, I think it's really important. I think it's really important to it. Even if it's not a legal document, do this. Yeah.
What I like to ask people this, that we've had people on that do that run toy shows or vintage shows.
Sure.
And I'm just always curious, like what do you see that's like, what's kind of hot right now in the is sort of what you like, what are the things that it's like, if you get it, you're like, okay, this is like a home run for us. But I know you guys sorry to interrupt. I know you guys specialize, so that might be not the right question. But I mean, are you seeing any trends? Are you starting to see things sell for more money that maybe didn't sell for a lot in the past? Or I'm just always curious, like what categories you might see or you might be surprised that are, becoming more popular.
Well, one thing in the sort of archives, manuscripts, field is, of course, social reforms and protest material, African-American related. Last week we were selling like Black Panther stuff.
Like Marvel or like the historic like 60s Black Panther?
Wakanda Forever.
Oh, okay.
No, he meant like
I meant like Huey Newton and yeah. So
Oh, okay. He said Wakanda Forever, so that threw me off.
yeah, no, I think he was
it's a
just
small
messing
town
with,
in Illinois.
He was just
Yeah.
messing with you.
Yeah.
Oh, is there a town called
There's
Wakanda?
in suburban Chicago. Yeah,
Really?
It's like near the border with Wisconsin.
It's called Wakanda or just Wakanda Forever or
Wakanda.
all right, I need to go there.
Wakanda,
That I'll put that on the map too. Go visit
Yeah.
there and Wiener Circle.
Oh yeah. Do you ever go to Wiener Circle?
Not since I was 24, but yes, it's worth a visit.
I want to meet Pookie.
Yeah, we did when my card company they co-founded Gas. When we did a booth at the National in Chicago, we did a collaboration with Wiener Circle.
Yeah.
And the woman Pookie, who I guess is like the one that like curses, and I guess they like take their tits out and
Oh yeah.
do like a milkshake or something. If you order a milkshake,
Well,
they're
I didn't know
supposed
they
to,
did all that.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah,
What?
yeah.
All right.
But we had Pookie sign, like she signed. We made a card for her, and then she was signing them at the booth and writing like really rude things on them.
Great.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Best served after 2 a.m.
is that like that's that kind of spot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like
yeah.
when you've been drinking
Yeah,
and you want to get
yeah.
like a beef dog or something.
All right.
And I think they have a vegan one now.
Ooh.
So
I hope they
you
make
know.
fun of you when you order it.
I hope so. I don't care. They can make fun of me.
So trends.
Yeah, trends.
Hot dog trends. So social movements. There are things that I think you have an interest in that many people thought of as essentially disposable or truly ephemeral things that now have a market. How hot is that market? That's kind of hard to say. But I don't think it's any secret that as people get older,
Right.
in theory, they have a job and money. And so the things that were, part of their youth and, parts of their, growing up and their lives,
Yeah.
things they couldn't afford, now become of interest to them. And it creates a market for them.
I mean, might as well directly pitch it, but it was interesting because, our friend Eric, who is, primarily has a lot of the photos. One thing we were talking about at lunch today was, just the idea of how there's less and less representation of physical photos from the late 90s into the early 2000s.
That'll be very interesting to see where that goes.
And we're gonna, I think there's gonna be some of that material in the auction. So it is gonna be because it's hard when that's something that I consider too. Especially I've been buying and selling for so many years. I sometimes have to think in my mind because a lot of times it's just like a reflex. Like if I see something at a flea market and I'm like, oh, that's a really good thing, and then I'll buy it, or I won't buy it because I'm like, let me look. I don't like to look online when I'm buying. I like to just use just my like natural sort of senses and what I've seen. But sometimes where it's like you have to look up stuff because you have to be like, okay, some of these things from the 60s and 70s, that generation that had the disposable income that wanted this stuff, they either don't want it anymore, have had it and sold it, have had it and died, or just still have it. And they're not looking to, buy another one. And there's not a ton of other people out there that are looking to buy that stuff.
Yeah, right. Or go even further back, look at what now they're calling the silver wave, which is the baby boom.
Ah, okay.
People of your parents' generation who collected samplers, who collected sandwich glass, who collected, whatever that is.
Right.
Those people are 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, or dead. And there's nobody standing in line behind them to buy those things at the same rate or with the same level of interest. And so, some of those markets,
Yeah.
they're going away if they're not already gone.
I mean, I don't even know if this is information that you gather, but does the metrics you have show like the age group of people that are buying or not?
I don't
really?
think we ask that of people who sign up and
That's what I was gonna
are
say,
registered bidders. I
yeah.
don't know. I mean, I guess a lot of people do, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's any secret that, somebody who is a baby boomer or, let's say even 60 and up, is going to have a certain subset of interests that a person who's 25 or 35 is probably not.
Yeah. I only say it because, the small amount of in-person things that I've been doing and been doing more, I have seen, especially in like the paper and ephemera photo world, I have seen, younger collectors and other younger dealers. I feel like, I feel like it's for a few reasons. I think one, it's with paper, it's generally, you could fit a lot of you can fit I think a box, like a postcard box holds like 700 or 800 postcards.
Sure.
So
Sure.
you think even like $1 a piece, I mean, that's $700.
Sure.
So, and it doesn't take up that much room. So I think there's that aspect. But I also, I think that, and this is my hope, right? I think that this sort of there's a generation sort of after the millennials. It's like the start. I think, there are people that are growing up where they're just completely online and everything they see and maybe even own is all digital. And for whatever reason, I mean, I guess, I don't know if it's something just nature or whatever, they want something they can hold. They want something that nobody else has.
Well, I think that there will be a pushback if there isn't already. You're talking about seeing young people at an antique show, or now you go to an antique mall and it's really a vintage
Don't get
mall,
me started.
right? Let's not even, where are the antiques?
Right.
But they do need an entry point, and there is a bit of a pushback, against the everything's downloaded to a hard drive, everything, I have a friend who's about my age, 46, and he has a nice library of books. He has had everyone scanned and turned into a PDF. So he has all of the books in storage, but he has an iPad. Any book he wants to read or search,
Wow,
he's got access to it. And we're not talking about 10 books. We're talking about 1,000. And he has paid someone to scan all of the books.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
I mean, you
wild.
could you can buy the stuff almost anywhere cheaply to scan them and turn them into PDFs. But yeah.
I want to start doing that with my vinyl records. But it's a little different because like every time you play, you don't know if the needle's wearing the record out or whatever, So it's like, oh, I'd love to have that digital,
and have access to it on a machine, so you could just listen to your whole.
or like in my Apple Music or like anywhere, just like be able to just listen to that, or
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
And I think about that, and I think that's crazy. I'm just going to go over to the shelf and pick up the book and find the info I need.
The space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, I guess that's something too. I mean, I think as I've gotten older or I've thought about it more, I mean, I'm like, ideally, I would like to enjoy everything that I own. This idea of having stuff in like a storage unit or some place where you can't access it, to me is like kind of like when you're like borderline, like, okay, what's my end goal? Like, what am I doing? Or
I
is it
used to
just
have
this
I used to have
compulsion?
posters under my bed in a big map drawer, and I said, "What am I doing? What am I doing?"
That's what I say every day.
And so, if it's not on the wall,
Right.
Yeah.
and I got a lot of posters on the wall, but there's no
Well, I think that's and I think that's another thing that I've learned going, being a collector, then becoming a dealer, and still being a collector at heart, is that, people ask me if I regret selling anything, and there's deals that I might be in my head that but like stupid stuff. Like when I was like in high school, I bought like the first appearance of not even high school. I think it was like in middle school. I bought the first appearance of Wolverine, like Incredible Hulk 181, and I sold it way too cheap to this guy at this toy or this like comic book show, and I knew that I did, but I to this day I'm like, well, that's just my own fault for not for letting someone. But I guess my point being is that I also like the idea of moving things on to somebody who might enjoy it more or is going to display it, and in a lot of ways I'm like, I'm glad that it's going to live in someone's collection and they're going to enjoy it rather than just like sitting in my drawer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, at the time, I mean, when you sold it, you were happy with what you got, right? So you were like king for a day,
Well,
right?
Well, my
like
story
at the time, you were happy.
I was happy because
Yeah, because you were a kid.
Well, I'll tell you,
made a little money.
I'll tell you the sort of longer version.
Okay,
if you got time.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to. I don't want Gabe to forget what he was going to say. It's an interesting
story. When I went to school in Florida, and my parents didn't have any money to send me to college, so I was like, I had to get some type of scholarship, and so Florida had this thing where you got one of the requirements is you had to get a certain amount on your SAT. And I had to take the SAT like 8 times or something to get like whatever thing I needed. But one of the times I was taking the SAT, I walk outside and the soccer team is having a little yard sale. And I find this like 60s like 007 like model kit like in the box.
Those are good. And
it also had this like Mickey Mantle card in it, which is like, it wasn't like a 52 mantle or anything, but it was like some other thing. So I remember I brought the mantle to this card shop and sold it for like $50, which was probably, again, way too low. But then I remember somebody giving me like $100 or maybe like $150 for the model kit at the comic show. So I was like, okay, I only got like $50 for this like Credible Hulk comic, but then I was like, but then I got $150 from this other stuff that I just gotten like that day and bought it for like $1. So that's how I sort of in my head like balanced it to where I was like, if I didn't show up to this convention, I wouldn't have sold the model kit. So it's all kind of like, I don't know.
Cost average kind of thing.
Yeah.
So hard to keep this guy happy.
Sounds like he found his zen, and
I'm finding it, but I don't know. I'm just saying I like being able, and you must too in some capacity. Well, like getting people like at least
right. I mean, so the most dangerous consigner, right, is the guy who consigns one item to your auction. It's Wesley Snipes, always bet on black, and you're betting on that one thing,
right?
But if the person consigns 10 items or 20 items or 50 items, or inevitably, this item's going to sell for a lot. This item's going to sell in the middle. This item's going to sell maybe a little bit lower. And it's all, probably going to balance out.
Yeah. And I mean, the one thing I love about doing auctions, especially Potter, is that when we did the punk auction last year, I mean, there were things that were in there that were like, okay, this is going to go well, and it went well. But there was other things that we had no clue, or things that just went beyond what we could even expect. You never know who's
going to show up, who's got money that day, who's not going to, So, I mean, that's part of the excitement of running a live sale like that, or even a timed one. The comment I was going to make earlier, Ronnie, and thank you for reminding me, is one of the top 5 things that people say when, yes, they want to sell the things and get a return, but it's not their primary motivation is, I'd like someone who cares about this thing to end up with it. It's kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah.
Usually what they say is, I want it to go to a good home.
Right.
And that is actually quite important.
No, for sure. And also too, it might take a little while for it to get to the best home. And I look at it that way too. So, it might go through a dealer's hands, then a collector, another dealer, but it will finally end up. But, my buddy Simeon said, he said to me a while back, we're just caretakers of this stuff. We just have this stuff for a short amount of time. So, cherish it, collect it, but just remember that it's just like life. It's ephemeral, most of it,
I've known a lot of people. There's one collection I don't know how many thousand items we've sold out of it. And the guy built a museum in his home, had staff. And, I mean, the whole thing. And even he had the realization, it's all, nobody gets out of here alive.
Right.
Right. And he was thinking, I'm going to set up a 501c3. We're going to have, and he scrapped all those ideas about making it a permanent museum. And finally came to realize it's time for somebody else to pick up the baton and, run.
I think that's important. I think for all collectors, because, I think a lot of us always kind of we're always concerned, at least I was, or I mean, I'm not as much anymore, because now I just consider like almost everything I have is inventory. So then that way it's just like, okay, everything's for sale, but some stuff's just not for sale right now. But I just think that, like, kind of realizing that, because it's like, I don't want to be the guy that, And and I'm sure you've heard the story, and this happens where people just have stuff piled so high, and then people don't hear from somebody for a week, and lo and behold, the pile of stuff fell on them.
Well, the Collier brothers, that's the classic story there. Do you know that?
No, I don't know that story.
Two brothers in New York. I won't get the dates right, but this is a classic story. So the one brother, I believe, was blind, and the other brother took care of him. And so and forgive me, internet, for getting all of there's books written about these guys. The one guy would go out and get food, and anyway, and the newspapers and everything they collected stacking up in the apartment, stacking up. And so then what ends up happening, one of these towers of junk falls down on the one who's able-bodied, and so he's trapped. He can't get up. He dies, and then the other guy's blind and doesn't know how to get around, so he dies. So they were basically, one was, killed by the stuff, and the other one was killed, basically due to neglect of the fact that his brother had passed away, crushed under all these papers.
The third brother had the cloak of invisibility, so they couldn't find him.
Third brother had the keys and kept the door locked. Anyway, but that's a classic sort of scenario.
No, but I mean, I still, I swear that like a few months ago, somebody told me that happened to somebody in Southern California.
It happens. I'm sure it happens all the time. Yeah. Listen, I'm going to go see a guy on Friday who has so many books in his house, can't park the car in the garage. There's one place setting at the table for, him to have a meal or whatever. They've had to reinforce the foundation of his house with, steel into the limestone, underneath it and everything. Now, he's taking steps to make sure that there's a plan.
Right.
But, don't let your collection own you.
Yeah, I don't want to be like that.
You own your collection, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen plenty of people on both sides of that, phrase. Yeah.
No, it's something important to just consider because, to me, right, like collecting should be fun at the end of the day, and you should have fun from collecting. And, I think it could get to a point though where it can definitely like make you crazy, if you allow it to. So
OCD, completists collect. I need one of every color. I need one in every style. I need one on every rack card. I need one on, whatever that, and then you've scratched that itch. Okay, now I'm moving on to the next character in that series, and it's like, or the other one that I love is they run out of things to buy in their category, and they literally, oh my God, I need that fix.
Right.
They move on to the next category because they've collected so much in one that now we're going off on this, jag here on whatever this thing.
Yeah.
I've seen, I'm going from books to posters to photos to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's hard because not everybody either has the time, the access, or the affordability to like to your point, like your friend who like scanned every book, or I know guys who, everything that's in their collection is photographed, is cataloged, is databased, and, they're not bringing a new thing in without putting it into their database,
which can be part of that sort of future proofing or planning for what, and sometimes it can just be a huge distraction.
Sure.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. What about is there anything like just in general in the collectible market or hobby that like you're just like I don't get it, like why are people...
I knew a guy who collected shopping lists
of
other people. Yeah. So, and they could be typewritten or.
But it didn't have to be famous. It was just
just like groceries,
anything, any kind of shopping list.
Wow. I actually think that's kind of cool.
You would love my mom's stuff. My mom like writes down all of her shopping stuff, and it's still all in her, Chinese, English handwriting and stuff. It's like,
well, kind of proving his point, right? I don't get it.
It's weird.
What I've learned is, who am I to judge?
Right.
Because.
Well, we were getting coffee earlier. Shout out to Patrick, the
sure. Yeah.
The cocktail napkin guy.
Sure.
We were like, oh, do you collect like signed? He's like, nah, I just like cocktail napkins. And look, hey, if you're they're as ephemeral as it comes.
God bless.
But I also remind people, and I think most people know this, but I think sometimes people forget that the most collectible items are things that weren't supposed to be collected. And that's because that's why they become collectible, because the scarcity, the fact that they weren't collected, they were thrown away, they're made of paper, made,
Sure.
all that stuff. So
Sure.
Is it I don't know, is it not related, but I just wanted to see if you could give me that punchline for your joke earlier. Was the punchline okay just to give?
The punchline.
Yeah.
what this
Was it about a sock or something?
put on the wrong socks
Because
today?
I put on the wrong socks today.
Yeah. Was that just the punchline?
That was the punchline,
Because I
yeah.
put on the wrong socks today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then our listeners will come up to me like, "Oh, what was the setup?" But it was like,
You know
because
what?
I wore the,
It's
because
very,
I wore the wrong
very
socks.
funny. And I remember a lot of jokes, but occasionally I only remember the punchlines. And of course, now you just go on your phone and you type in the punchline to
Right.
get a
Yeah.
setup.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I started doing with those stupid like riddles. But then the thing that's annoying is a lot of times they don't give enough information. So then the person's arguing with you about it, and you're like, well, it's not written that well. Sorry, I have too much time in my hands, obviously.
It's okay. I'll watch the replay. I wasn't listening.
Okay.
I'll catch what you just said on the rewatch, on the replay.
So people can find you. You don't really do social media.
I don't personally do much of it. If you want to visit us on Instagram or whatever, just look for Potter, at Potter.
Potter Auctions, right?
I don't even really know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't do a lot of that myself. I'm trying to maintain my sanity.
Yeah.
Just look at potterauctions.com, in terms of the auctions that are coming up. You can join the email list or, sign up for a sale and,
Yeah.
or visit us in Chicago.
Yeah, I definitely suggest that if you're in Chicago, and I remember one of the things that I always whenever I see it in your catalogs, I'm always like, ooh, that sounds interesting. I think it's like, because like sometimes you'll post, let's say like a scrapbook or something that you just can't post a ton of photos, so it's like a line that says like
Should be
seen. And I actually did. I remember the one time I did that, and and everybody was like super helpful and pulled it out.
And we'll do FaceTimes and stuff. Like in December, we were selling a group of like 5,000 books in one lot.
Oh wow!
And I set up a tripod and just started opening boxes and showing them off to people. And again, service business. Whatever I can do to give you the info you need.
Yeah. Now, are you still collect Magic stuff?
I do occasional poster or book, but I get to live vicariously through my job.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'd ask Johanna and she would say, "Oh boy, you got a lot of stuff." But
Well, that's the one thing I love about just coming to the office is just all the stuff that's like either stuff that's on consignment or hasn't been consigned, or just stuff that's kind of living there now, and there's always like amazing things to be seen. So yeah, I regularly recommend, I mean, look, it is a business. It's not a museum. So,
Right.
if you're going to come there, at least, come there with at least the intention that you're going to be respectful and know that it's not like it's open to the public per se. But if if you're generally like a nice person and come in, and
Just
wanna-
give us-
famous
give
podcast
'em-
personality.
yeah, or just give them a heads up.
yeah,
and
give us
say,
a heads up and let us know what you might want to see.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Oh, this is kind of a fun, I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting question. Has anything ever just come off the street right into Potter that's been phenomenal at any point? Like someone literally walked
unannounced.
just like walked in.
I would say no. I would say the things that are unannounced are. As a matter of fact, I had a phone call 2 weeks ago, and the person said, "I have this poster for this circus, act or whatever, and it's a fine poster. There's no, But I said to the folks on the phone, "What else do you have?" What do you mean? Then we ended up on a Zoom call for an hour walking through their house, and it's like, "Oh boy, what else do you have? What else don't you have?"
Wow.
So that is the exciting part again of what else might be there, what discovery might there be.
Yeah. One thing else I'll say, if whoever's listening at any point in time, it also goes to show that if you are in a position where, let's say, somebody passes away, or you have an estate and you think it's interesting, don't throw stuff away, because sometimes, you hear the stories of, like I bought this collection not too long ago at the flea market, and it's a similar, but they bought this big collection. And it was like I bought thousands of photos of Latin artists from somebody who used to like run a music label or company. And so I'm talking to the woman, and she's like, "Oh yeah, there were all these flyers and contracts, but we threw it away." And I'm like, "Why?" Yeah. And it's just important because look, everybody can't know everything about everything, but with paper, especially in ephemeral things, like there might be that one thing that's sitting in a drawer, sitting between a book or in a folder that is worth more than anything else in the entire house,
100%,
and
100%.
So it's not always the things that you think are valuable.
And I have to tell you, I often have to remind myself, just because you don't like it,
right?
Doesn't mean somebody else won't. Doesn't mean somebody else won't treasure it.
Right.
I have my personal biases. These are the things that I like. These are the things that I find, interesting or valuable or worth, putting in a catalog. And I turn up my nose at other things, and somebody else talks me out of it, and it goes in a catalog, $1,000,
right?
$2,000, $5,000.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's an hour.
No kidding.
That was pretty quick, right?
Magical.
Magical.
The time just.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say, or any other announcements, or anything you think?
Enjoyable conversation. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah,
and
same.
Anybody wants to learn more about us, potterauctions.com.
Yeah. And we'll be pushing it because, like I said, I have a bunch of stuff on consignment in March, and then we, like Gabe said, we have the punk auction in August. So we'll be talking about it on the show. This weekend is was it Long Beach?
Oh yeah, all right, Long Beach again.
And then next weekend is the Rare Book Fair in Pasadena, so I'll be set up there.
Okay.
And then are you going anywhere this weekend?
Not yet. I think March we're doing San Jose.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Next week we'll talk about Chinese New Year and how our Valentine's Day went and stuff. So
what is it? Gung Fat Choi?
Yeah, Gong Hei Fat Choi. If you're going to go the Kanto route, I guess. Yeah, yeah. I'll get more into that next week.
I still want to know what fat means.
I think you already know what fat means.
All right,
means
cool.
You're going on your low carb diet.
Yeah, I got to get on a low carb diet. Okay.
Happy Valentine's Day,
happy
everyone!
Valentine's
Early
Day.
And smash that like, subscribe, and comment. Please
let
comment.
us know what you think about the show.
And that's pretty much it. Right?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Gabe.
See you next week.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Gabe.
Okay.
Awesome.